So I wrote about, first wrote an article about the Tether attack. That was happened actually October last year. Somebody dumped the Tether. Do people know about Soros attack? When they attacked the British pound? This is basically I immediately dumped your money. I once break the pack, I buy back the money to cover my short positions. However, in the crypto, it's slightly different. They could dump the Tether price, but at the same time, they drive up the Bitcoin price. So they can lose money on dumping Tether, but they can make money out of Bitcoin rise. So that's a slightly different way, one way to attack that. And the people who did that was the intention was not trying to break the pack, but to make money. Then similarly, I actually wrote an article about how to attack MakerDAO. I talked to Rune about it. He kind of agreed the way I designed it, how to attack it, is direct attack. After I wrote that article, the attack sort of already happened. It's basically, if you look at the USDC or the others trying to, even though they're centralized, they give basically provide lower fees for you to generate the token. And that's basically for consumers is, okay, if this fee is lower, I just deposit my asset and get to my USDCs that will make it down. It's really becomes, that's why if you think about the DAI token in terms of market valuation, market cap didn't grow that much in terms of minting more tokens. That's because there were so many tokens and there's so many ways of designing this token, the market will start to fight each other. I think the best bet for a particular token is you find a niche market, you dominate a niche market. That could be even computing payment, either just for computing the payment or certain type of payment. If you dominate that market that's being used, being adopted, and there's almost like no other reason for people to switch it, and you basically build a kind of network effect of defensibility to do that. But if you act that, you have to act very fast. Because think about it, if like Libra or the centralized bank coming in, they have a lot of marketing powers to, and also even government back to adoptions. It will be challenging for the smaller players to carve out the niche market.
And Vlad, I mean, how do you, as a in that world, think about those attacks or protecting yourself against them and some of those?
Yeah, thank you. I wish I had my STO also here. So yes, absolutely right. So talking about the investing we should do, and of course we cannot compete such giants like Libra that they can just enter like an Amazon office or wherever office. So. But still, yes, this is absolutely right. That right now we are focusing on adoption of USDQ to the project. That's why I'm here together with our partners. And actually, I think you know that QDAO made several rounds of OTCs selling QDAO tokens. And right now we are most focusing not to like gathering money to the project, but mostly to make the project successful and more use cases to be launched very, very soon. Yeah.
So for folks in the audience who may be looking, if they look at a stable coin, right, from the outside looking in, what things should they really look at to know if this is a good stable coin in this light, right? Is it about the capital reserves that are underneath it? Is it about the asset behind it? Like how should they evaluate what makes a good stable coin and a bad stable coin?
Well, actually, yes, it's like a different approaches can be. So first, as we already discussed, the stable coins can be backed by the real assets, and the next is backed by like a blockchain and crypto itself. So, and the third, I think, one is like a more marketing tool. All of this approach has can be, but actually I don't know what is the behavior of the people. So personally, me, I believe that to be more transparent and decentralized, this is a key to success. Actually, when you do not hiding anything and you are not inside of a big scandals, when an audit firm comes and it's found a very a difference between the actual figures and announced. So this is very, very bad, and I believe this harms all like a blockchain industry.
Henry, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, so my personal view is when I evaluate all these stablecoins, I focus on two things. The first is definitely consumer trust. Trust means like whether your token will maintain the peg. If you say you peg to a US dollar, if somehow the peg broke, or I trust it's $1 somehow becomes 90 cents. And if this happens a few times, you immediately lose the trust of the users, you will not adopt. So that's why I analyze every stablecoin stabilization method, how they maintain their peg. That's super important. If you go to peg, your reputation get hurt, it's very hard to adopt. The second is basically adoption, the marketing. It's like, okay, if I hold a QDAO token, if nobody accepts it, then I have no incentive to hold. I would rather choose Libra because Libra, everyone accepts Libra. So that's like on the marketing side. It's basically, right now it's small, because the market is small, but you want to find a project that potentially has the chance of scale very, very quickly and get as many adoption as possible. Of course, you could cut out a niche market, where in that market, everybody agrees this QDAO is a buy and use, then you can establish your base like that.
Yeah.
So Vlad, I know QDAO and your suite of stablecoins, you've chosen to take a path that's currency or country specific in the efforts that you've done, whereas other stablecoins have a one global stablecoin that they focus on. Tell me a little bit about that decision, like why did you guys choose to go that path?
Let's say this is also one of the marketing tools that some countries are like do not want or cannot really nicely calculate how much is like $100 US, and it's for them the best way to use their like a native cryptocurrency. And by these efforts, we are going to expand market by market. So right now, already we already have USDQ stablecoin. It's already on CoinMarketCap. KRWQ already deployed in Ethereum blockchain. And we have plans to develop also Japanese yen Q, Chinese yen Q, and Singaporean dollar and whatever Q. So, and these steps will be mostly for adoption of stable coins in the different markets. And also, if we are talking about the selling goods or some like a marketplace, it will be also much more easy to calculate the real price. You will not need to make some sort of like a calculation of currency exchange rates and so on.
Makes sense. So I feel like you can't talk about stablecoin without talking about regulatory issues a little bit here. And so can you share your perspective on how you view the future of regulation either here in Korea or in other countries, and kind of how that will impact the stablecoin market and the adoption of stablecoins?
Okay, this is very important and good question. And what can I say? That I'm like a usual traveler to Korea, and I feel that the crypto life here is very well developed. And still, I do not have any evidence that government declined to use it or something like this. But still, it is not allowed very massively. Same thing I can say about the Russia, for example. So there was this year some cases when some place accepted Bitcoin or Ethereum as a payment, and they had a lawsuit from the tax office, but finally it was done. So because if tax a court said that it was not a payment because we do not have it in our tax system. So that's it. This is a good case, and yeah, why not? And of course we cannot do anything for the regulatory. So we just need to wait and believe in in a happy future.
I just want to add about your last comment. This morning we met a Korean team project who actually works on the real estate project. They basically tokenize the real estate. And they basically only allow people to buy using crypto. What the insight they told us is that crypto is not considered a currency, So when you buy the asset, you don't need to pay whatever tax that you're supposed to. That's actually much cheaper. It's like, wow. So you found a loophole for it, and it's basically helping the real estate to sell more real estate. You don't need to pay that. That's really funny.
So let's put on our future hat for a second here, right? And give me your sense of, I don't know what's an appropriate timeline here, honestly, right? 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 100 years down the road, I don't know. But what do you expect stablecoin, maybe more general crypto, like what do you expect that market to evolve into and look like?
Look, personally, I believe it will happen very soon. As soon as big companies and big players will release their tokens like Libra and Tom, I believe it will be a really big kick for all communities and all projects that was struggling to develop somehow. So I personally believe that 2020 will be a very good year for the development.
Yes, I do think if this right now it's not a technology blocking this, it's a legal, some kind of policy issues blocking this. So once this one sort of either hash out, yes or no, if not Libra, maybe some central bank backed tokens will be released. The deployment can be very, very fast. Just to give some examples, WeChat Pays in China only happens in the last 3 to 5 years. You don't know how the speed has been growing. So the mobile, can you give a guess like how big is the mobile payment market in China today? You'll be surprised. It's 227 trillion RMB. And the US mobile payment is only like 1/10 of whatever China is. It's just like its scale. It's only happened in the last 3 to 5 years. They reached that growth. It's amazing.
So would both of you agree that it's going to require governments to be okay, or at least not be actively against stablecoins in order to drive the adoption and make it happen? Or do you think that stablecoins can be decentralized enough in some way to, it doesn't matter what the government thinks about it as part of it, it will have a life of its own like Bitcoin has in a way?
So also a very good question, because I believe that government, it doesn't matter which country they are, if the a turnover of cryptocurrency uncovered by the taxes will exceed some level, they will definitely go in. But of course, if all more the countries goes in with this with some a consortium, it will definitely move this world.
Any different opinion there?
I kind of agree that the reading is that for a decentralized one, it takes a long time for it to get adopted. That's the problems, even though it's fully decentralized. However, the current environment is all the government or big company wake up. They say, okay, this is the opportunity, they need to do something. And however, if those big companies want to do something, it will be regulated by the central government. And if they agree on some policies, then you're going to see very, very fast adoptions of that. Okay?
Excellent. All right, at this stage, I want to turn it out to the audience to see if there's any additional questions about stablecoins for these two experts. Is there anything that you want to know or ask about any part of creation, development, design, adoption, any part of the stablecoin process that we can help answer?
Blockchain could solve that. So what do you think would be mature?
Say it again?
That could solve e-commerce could solve it.
Yeah. How is that going to use stablecoin? Or
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the question is, how would a consortium help to drive adoption and usage of stablecoins as part of that effort?
So, for example, if we're talking about Asian countries, if they're moving money from one country to another, will be very, very much easy, and it will be allowed. Definitely, a lot of people goes in. So, I see it like this. So, for example, even on the companies level, so if they can trade between the border using cryptocurrency, yeah, it will definitely help the adoption of cryptocurrency, stablecoins, and blockchain itself, and commerce, especially so.
Excellent. I think you answered all. One more. Yeah, please.
First, MakerDAO is smaller, collateralized DAI. What's your opinion of that? What's your opinion of MakerDAO's current model?
Yeah. Henry, you want to take that one first?
So basically, MakerDAO is a kind of a decentralized sort of cryptocurrency which use the crypto asset as collateral for you to mint or generate a stablecoin. They started with a single collateral, which is Ethereum. Then they just recently announced that they're going to support multi-collateral. Technically, this is not a very innovative idea. If you know Compound, which is another loan platform where you basically deposit your tokens that you can basically borrow stablecoin, which can be DAI, can be USDC. They support USDC now. So I actually talked to Jung about this and chat about this. That's on Telegram, the founder for MakerDAO, and the consensus was the reading is today it's very challenging for Maker to create more DAI. Because it's fully decentralized, to create more DAI, people need to deposit asset into a smart contract so they can mint more DAI. And if you don't have more supply, then people are like, I need a DAI to buy stuff, and you don't have more for me to buy, they will not going to use it. They will go to USDC, which is kind of unlimited minting DAI. So they have a disadvantage of doing that. So that's why it's forced them to open the multi-collateral. For a lot of people who hold other tokens like Augur token, BAT tokens, so they can deposit. So they don't want to sell. They can deposit and they're basically minting DAI for other purposes. It definitely advantage. I would say features advanced in terms of product, but in terms of the usage is basically the DAI, right? It's not much difference at all. So I won't see. And it's also impact is how to say it, the governance structure, because you need to vote on which one to being select and how to vote that. But the reality is the second one, if you want to copy that, is you don't need to do due diligence on which asset is good asset as a collateral. You just copy whatever MakerDAO is being selected. It's just similar to like the US, right? You know the McDonald's, you know Burger King. McDonald's is very good at selecting a location for its store so they can generate revenue, because if you're a low traffic store, you will lose money for that store. And Burger King doesn't have the technical skill to decide where to select a store. So how they solve the problem is whenever you open the McDonald's, I just open next to it and open Burger King. So similarly, but they could figure out evaluate every asset, but it can be easily copied since it's all open source. So I would say at the end of the day, it's not about technology, it's about a go-to-market, how to create a network effect, how to create a community to do that. And I would say MakerDAO today is very limited by the collateral they have, which is cannot create enough DAI to supply that.
Thank you, Henry. I absolutely agree. So we are not going to have a gold medal and to that big a bid like a first, and we are not hiding that we are mostly use the same scheme as MakerDAO, and why not actually? So the difference is that we are accepting BTC and Maker accept Ethereum for our collateral. That's it.
Yeah, but BTC is a bigger asset than Ethereum. That means if you deposit BTC, you can mint more QDAO.
Yeah, thank you. And also our stablecoin is also ERC20 based, and even we accept BTC, it doesn't mean that our transaction it will be very not so fast. Okay. So
it's wrap BTC on Ethereum. Like a wrap BTC.
actually our USDQ and KRWQ based on Ethereum network, so ERC20, yes.
All right, I think that may wrap things up. Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Henry. 감사합니다 to all of you. Thank you very much. Enjoy and drink more food. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
네, 저희 오늘 준비된 거는 다 끝났고요. 자유롭게 여기서 음식 즐기시면서 자유롭게 이제 집으로 돌아가시면 되겠습니다. 감사합니다.